Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Maho Village Council commended for prudent management of government funds and receives a further $3 million for re-roofing project. Dominica to be represented at two important CARICOM level meetings this week. And one international organization pleased with progress on roofing projects at the peak of the hurricane season. The details of the news coming up.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
First up in the news, about 4 homes were affected by a major fire in the Tarish Pit community Monday afternoon. Eyewitnesses said 2 buildings appeared to be completely destroyed while another 2 were severely damaged. No word yet on how that fire started. Channel 5 News got some footage of the afternoon blaze while firemen struggled to put out that fire.
You want the back?
Yeah, the one at the back. Got some stuff on it. You really move that and start burning.
What's in that, boy?
In other news, local investment and hospitality company Range Development has reaffirmed its commitment to completing the Cabritz Resort and Spa Kempinski on schedule. According to Project Director for the Kempinski Resort, Gary Swartbrick, the team is dedicated to ensuring that the latter half of 2019 deadline is met.
The team on site has been working steadily and frequently late into the night to ensure that we will be undoubtedly one of the finest hotels in the Eastern Caribbean that opens in the second half of 2019. The resort's general manager has already been appointed and brings a wealth of operational experience with him. There's been significant site progress over the last few months. Hardwood roofs have been installed to most of the public buildings and external works is nearing completion. Interior and finishing works is underway. There is a significant momentum on site and the resort is rapidly taking shape.
The Cabritz Resort and Spa Kempinski is the first approved citizenship by investment project in Dominica. Apart from work on the structure of the hotel, the establishment will also kick off its hospitality training program in the near future. And 1 year after Category 5 Hurricane Maria devastated 226% of Dominica's GDP, the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union says while employment levels are not back to normal, it's getting there. WAU Secretary-Treasurer Curtis Augustus says as far as the establishments which the union represent, employment levels are back to near normal, but he says there's still some way to go. Augustus believes 1 year after Maria, some companies are still making decisions as to whether they should resume operations, and if they do, to what extent. Some companies have been put out of business completely due to the impact of Hurricane Maria and the consequent looting.
And we have the classical example of GE Nassif. Now, Nassif have in fact shut down and have indicated that it was in fact the looting more than anything else that precipitated that sort of decision. But we are monitoring others that are not so inclined to indicate positively whether in fact they're going to resume or to start back operations. And of course, from the standpoint of employment in Dominica, any of the companies that would resume operation would be welcome by a trade union, because it means that you're going to reduce the incidence of unemployment. So we are concerned with that, and some are in fact looking at the financial basis for resuming full operation or part-time operation. And that would be encouraged as much as possible.
In spite of the lingering difficulties businesses face since Hurricane Maria, WAU boss says he is heartened by the manner in which some companies have treated with their employees.
We have to state, though, that following the passage of Maria, we were quite happy with the posture of a number of employees in Dominica. Those that carried their workers for a number of months. Kubuli would probably stand out in that they were carried up to the time that they were made redundant last month. So, you know, you have a number of other companies that looked at their workers and assisted, and those we would always promote as being humane, considerate type of employees. This is the kind of employees that we would like to see in Dominica at all times. It is true that you look at your bottom line, but in terms of ensuring that you maintain your bottom line, your employees contribute significantly to that. And therefore, you need to address some of the concerns. So from that standpoint, we're very happy with a number of them.
Some companies have provided assistance to employees in terms of loans and grants, and Augusta says WOW remains sensitive to the challenges faced by a number of employers in Dominica. And team leader of the International Organization for Migration is reporting satisfaction with the number of reconstructed roofs as we enter the peak of the hurricane season.
The re-roofing and core house project of the IOM started a few months ago, with the organization focusing on communities in the northeast and northwest. One of the major challenges affecting the project was the shortage of skilled labor in the country. Team leader Jan Willem Wegdam says despite the initial challenges, the organization has covered an impressive number of houses.
We celebrate that we passed the 600 roof mark. Super happy with that. We've been pushing, especially because we realized that the peak of the hurricane season is coming in September, October, and November. We pushed everything to the limit so that we could shelter as many people as possible. It's also part of our obligation to the donors because they ask us, or we agreed to finalize our programs, or the majority of our programs at the end of September. So we really pushed it, and we're happy that we got so far within the limited time.
Wegdam was speaking at the launching of the IOM-led Basic Carpentry Skills Workshop in the Roseau South constituency. In order to combat the shortage of skilled labor, the IOM launched a series of basic carpentry workshops in Dominica. Government Senator and head of the Roseau South Housing Committee, Josiah Benoit, said young people in the area will benefit from the hands-on training being provided.
These young people that are receiving the training today, they have and continue to demonstrate a great level of commitment to the efforts in Roseau South. And so I'm very happy to see that today, based on the experience we have had, we have identified certain gaps in their skill set. I mean, none of us in the team is a carpenter. You know, none of us are professional contractors. But now, thanks to Habitat for Humanity, thanks to the International Organization for Migration and other partners, we can broaden the skill set of the young people and empower them to see a transition for themselves post-Maria.
The IOM has already conducted the basic carpentry course in St. Joseph and plans to bring the workshop to the Northeast next. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
The people of Maho have come in for high commendation for their prudent management of public funds. Member of Parliament for the Maho constituency, Reuben Blackmore, said the wise thinking of the village council led to more houses being repaired from the initial $2 million allocated to the constituency in February for phase 1 of the re-roofing project. He said these actions will augur well for the constituency when it comes to requesting additional funds for housing projects.
We had to ensure that that first phase, that the money was used properly. The government, because of the good self of the Prime Minister, brought into the island in bulk building material up to the tune of $17 million, because we had a serious challenge that, one, we don't have the material on island in the variety and quantity that we required, so the government actually did that for us. So what we did, we extracted the material cost from the overall cost, and as a result, we were able to save over $1 million.
Last week, a further $3.1 million was given to the Maho constituency to continue its re-roofing project. Blackmore warned the constituents that the road ahead would be long and trying as the re-roofing project moves on.
Today's event is merely to report to you what we have been able to do, and to ask of you, those of you, to have a little patience with us, because it's not easy to repair all these houses at once. And when you think of the magnitude of the problem that confront us by way of housing, it's going to be a long, long, long road. And we have to, as a people, understand.
President of the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, Pastor Randy Rodney, believes a lack of conflict resolution skills is among a range of challenges faced by some Dominican young men. Commenting on a recent spate of deadly shootings involving young men, Pastor Rodney noted that some young men seem to be turning to guns in the absence of the language skills to articulate their disagreements.
Our men don't know how to converse with other people, fathers or the men. So that if you find two men who are short on language in terms of their ability to communicate effectively, then it's going to always end up in a row, which now that row speaks with guns. We need to address that. We need to address the whole conflict resolution issue at the house, obviously not outside. We have tried to do it outside. The issue is not external. The issue is in raising people, raising children from within homes. So you have that issue.
Pastor Rodney is of the view that leadership is another component which must be looked into when seeking to resolve these deadly encounters among the country's young men.
Leadership must play a role in this. If you are dividing the nation subtly, it's going to be divided bigger than you think. If you cannot sit down with your quote-unquote opponent on a debate, what do you expect the people who are following you to do? If you cannot have a civil conversation without insulting somebody over an issue, how do you expect those who are not as educated as you are, who probably don't have a home training like we say as you do, how do you expect them to do better? People follow leaders. And I've often said to my children that children are always going to be 10 times worse or 10 times better than their mentors. Mentees will do better than their mentors. Whether they do better in the good or they do better in the bad. And we can't keep circumventing this and playing dead on those matters.
Pastor Rodney points out there are a number of issues which need to be resolved with action as we have exhausted all talk. Deadly shootings in Newtown, Roseau and Silver Lake have prompted statements from the Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition, as well as the Minister for National Security. And apparently, copper, known for its use in electronics, has become increasingly valuable over the last 10 years. So much so that Flo's property has become the target of vandalism and theft. The company's copper cables have been vandalized or stolen in Trafalgar, Belfast and Jimmet. These incidents result in the disruption of Flo service to customers in these communities.
Stealing of the copper cable from Flo, especially from the customers in Trafalgar, and it happened about 2 or 3 times in Trafalgar. Also, recently we had the cable stolen in Castaways or Mirror area, which we had to replace again. And off late, we got up this morning where it was stolen again in Trafalgar, Belfast, and also into the Jimmet area. So the person who is doing that stealing of that copper cable is aware what they are doing, and it is putting a number of customers out of service. And I mean, after those customers have suffered from such a mega hurricane of Maria, and they are just getting back their lives together, especially that the school term is coming up once more. And a number of them require the internet services for their children. And for some reason, the individuals believe that they're doing themselves good by stealing the copper cable. It has cost the company quite an amount of money trying to restore the services to the customers. And I mean, I speak for myself because I've been spending, I used to call here my home because I spent from Mondays to Saturdays, 8 to 9 in the evening, restoring customers back to what they were before. And for somebody to just keep stealing the copper cables all the time, I mean, they have no heart, and whoever is buying the cables from the individual should ask themselves a question: are they doing justice to the island? The copper cable, as I said, the customers and them are affected, and sometimes we are unable to source the cable right away because we have to keep putting in cables that were damaged from Hurricane Maria right across the island. Right now we're into Calibishi and parts of Marigot, Portsmouth, and for somebody to be stealing that cable, that means that they're leaving a number of customers out of copper cable, but that we can't restore them right away because we have to keep putting back things that we just replaced. So I believe that the authorities out there and whoever have seen the individuals doing that malicious damage, that they should report it to the police station. And there is no reason that you should find somebody at 3 a.m. in the morning, blinkers on or flashers on with high visibility jerkins on a pole with a ladder. I mean, something is fishy about that. And we have to bring that perpetrator to justice.
The theft of cable remains an offense, and Flow has pledged to prosecute anyone caught stealing or vandalizing its property. The Telecoms Act makes provision for a $15,000 fine and 6 months in jail for interfering with telecoms systems. The public is encouraged to report any sightings of cable theft to Flow or the police. You are watching Channel 5 News. More after the break.
At Millennium Freight Services, we offer a wide range of shipping solutions. Internet shoppers, sign up for your free U.S. address with AirPost. And with AirPost warranty and return, you can count on peace of mind for all your pieces. Shipping to and from anywhere around the world, from large containerized cargo to smaller packages with Liat Cargo and UPS. Shipping from Trinidad, Logistics International's got you covered. Avoid the port with our customs clearance and optional home delivery services. Ask about our packing services. We make moving easy. MFS, your one-stop shipping solutions company.
Si ou ni maladi HIV et bien maladi sexuelle, si ou pas protéger corps lò ka ni sexe ek plusieurs moun, sa kay mette la vie ou a gros danger. Ou ka expose tout partner ou poison et que ta ki ka vini ek maladi ya. Servi yo kondom chaque fois ou ka ni sexe. Change ki, y est important pour découvrir maladie à bonheur ou sa vivre en bonne santé même si ou ni maladie HIV. Prends responsabilité, protéger corps et puis les autres. Examiner corps. Aidez du bout si même maladie HIV et l'autre maladie sexuelle.
Thank you for staying with us. Dominica expected to be represented at 2 important CARICOM level meetings in Barbados this week. Dominica's Prime Minister and Minister for Finance will join his counterparts from around the region for the 6th special meeting of the Council for Finance and Planning COFAP on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, CARICOM heads gather for the 9th meeting of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on the CARICOM Single Market and Economy. Issues to be discussed include the contingent rights of citizens, healthcare, education, the single registration of international businesses, and the approval of automatic 6-month stays to CARICOM nationals. The Council for Finance and Planning is responsible for economic policy coordination and financial and monetary integration of member states. That meeting will be chaired by Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown. The trade union representing workers at Courts Dominica is in discussion with the company to allow employees who will lose their jobs due to restructuring to take up positions within the company across the region. Because of restructuring, a number of Courts employees will find themselves out of a job as the company centralizes some of its operations in St. Lucia. The Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, which has been in negotiations with Courts management, has recommended that staff who stand to lose their positions in Dominica ought to be allowed to take up jobs at other Court stores in the region.
Because what we have told them is that Courts is not only operating in Dominica, but Courts is operating within the region. And the company is Courts. So if there are possibilities that one could be absorbed in other areas without impacting their wages, then we would prefer to go for that. So we are expecting to get some response from management in that regard.
Technical staff, cashiers and credit department staff are expected to be impacted by ongoing restructuring at Courts. And the body of the late McIntyre Douglas, known to many as Mac, was finally laid to rest on the weekend. Mr. Douglas, who had been ailing for some time, died in August. While in the UK, his nephew and MP for Portsmouth, Ian Douglas, remembers the man who was not a politician but was loved all the same for the community man that he was.
I'll tell you something about some of my family members, and my father happens to fall into that category, and him, Mark and Rosie happen to fall into that category also. It is my grandmother. My grandmother was like a matriarch of the entire community. She was loved and admired by all, you know, everybody. She embraced everybody. And so some members of the family, like Mark, have that same kind of quality. And so Mark was a guy who was, you know, like you said, loved by everybody. You know, we talk to everybody despite your political persuasion. Mark, he was a Porto Labourite, very staunch Labourite. Yeah, very, very close to the Dominican Labour Party. But loved by all, despite your political persuasion. I mean, even your religious, because he was a devout Catholic. He was a man of Latin, a real traditional Catholic man. He wasn't into the charismatic thing. He would go way back. Mark used to go to church and sing in Latin. Mark would do about 3 or 4 different masses on Sunday. He would come to church in Portsmouth, then probably go to Tukari and go to Bond to go to church or go to Jubla. That's the kind of person, devout Catholic, believed in his church, knew about the church, was a practicing Catholic. Sometimes he would even get into loggerheads with some of the priests because he believed that they were not authentically, you know, practicing the real, you know, real authentic Catholicism of way back, how the church was founded. That's the kind of person that he was. If you know a man singing fluently in Latin and wanting Latin masses, you can understand that that is a real Catholic, you know. So that's the kind of guy he was. And, you know, he came back from England a couple of years ago when my grandfather died to help in the business and to take over. He took over the snack it, and he really took off with the ice cream production before Sean came along and again took it to a next level. You know, so he's really been there. He's sacrificed a lot for the family, and he was like there are different factions in the Douglas family, and he was like a go-between. You know, he is a bridge between the younger Douglases and maybe the older ones, you know, who sometimes see things differently. So he'll surely be missed. Mark never really picked a fight with anyone, but if you stood him up, he could get really, really vile, you know, especially when he feels passionate about things like football. He would go to England every World Cup. That's when he took his vacation. Nothing would stop that from way back. And he was a Brazil fan to the bone. He would have his Brazil flag hung up in the snack it where he worked with the ice cream for a number of years. I mean, he could tell you everything from Pele, come right back. He knew the history of the football, of the English team, of the European football, because he lived in England and worked in England for a number of years. So he was really passionate about this sport.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Mahu Village Council commended for prudent management of government funds and receives a further $3 million for a re-roofing project. And Dominica to be represented at 2 important CARICOM level meetings this week, and 1 international organization pleased with progress on roofing projects in the peak of the hurricane season. Feel free to contact us at news@mapping2k4.com. You can access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.